the Chicago Sky not only win their season finale, but they also lock in an extension with Kahleah Copper for 2 years. We're going to talk about that, plus the playoff seeding, all that and more right after this.
Welcome to Chicago Sky Central, and here's your host, Haize.
What's going on, Sky fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Sky Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Sky related. And I'm the host here, Haize. You guys can follow the channel at Chicago Sky Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into the content for today. In the news that we've all been wondering, and even in the last episode, I had my speculation about, it looks like Kahleah Copper, when we dropped the last episode, had 1 day remaining to decide if she was going to sign a contract extension with the Chicago Sky, and it looks like she decided to. The Chicago Sky lock in Kahleah Copper to a 2-year contract, with the first year being for $241,984, which is the super max. Let's be clear here. That is the super max for that year. The following year, it's a $7,000 raise on top of that. So, at the end of the day, the Chicago Sky put their money where their mouth is. They lock in a player that's had their best statistical season, moving into being the true number one on this team. She only missed, 2 games this season as well. Signs for the amount of money that is respectful. That gives the Chicago Sky as well 2 years to make sure that they improve the team in a way that's gonna keep Kahleah Copper there for even more years, right? And so, listen, that she gets her money, she gets her extension. She says this: Chicago has been everything I could have asked for and more over the past 7 years. This is where I've grown as a player, as a person, and where I'm proud to say I've become one with this community. The city doesn't cut corners and pours everything into each day. That's a standard I'm proud to upkeep. I'm ready and excited to grow and build on my legacy here and give this city, our fans, my teammates, coaches, and the entire Sky organization everything I have to bring another championship back home. Kahleah Copper is a 3-time All-Star. She's averaged a career-high 18.7 points per game in 38 games, only missing 2 games for the Chicago Sky this season. And she came here in the trade that sent Elena Delle Donne out to the Washington Mystics, and she was the cornerstone, right? She was the piece that, considering everything that we lost last offseason, we could not afford to lose. And so the Chicago Sky lock in Kahleah Copper. She's going to be here now for at least another 2 years. She's locked in through the 2025 season. And so in the summer, I should say in the winter of 2025 heading into 2026, that is when we'll see if we can lock in Kahleah Copper to another contract. But at least now we have our cornerstone. We have most of the main pieces of this roster as well locked in. We'll see with a better year of health and relative and things like that where that puts the Chicago Sky. But at least for now, we cannot worry any longer. We don't have to worry any longer about if Kahleah Copper is going to stay in the Chicago Sky uniform, because we've now locked her in for 2 more years. Now, on the same day that this extension was announced, the Chicago Sky did play a game. They played against the Connecticut Sun, which is another team that's also playoff bound. And the Chicago Sky win this game 102-91, going into overtime. In the overtime period, the Sky outscored the Connecticut Sun 13-2 in the overtime period. Courtney Williams leading the team on that night with 21 points, 16 rebounds, 13 assists, 2 steals in this game. She gets a triple-double, and we needed every single bit of it. Elizabeth Williams scores 21 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. Continue filling the stat sheet like she has been. And Marina Mayberry also chips in 16 points, goes 5 of 13 shooting, all 5 of those shots being 3-point shots. She also hits 1 3-pointer, 7 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 steal as well in that game. And Dana Evans off the bench with 18 points, going 6 of 12. We also get big contributions from Morgan Birch off the bench, Sika Kone as well off the bench, and Robin Parks, who started in place of Kahleah Copper, who was out that game. She chips in 6 points, plays solidly on both sides of the ball. But this was a game where it would have been easy for the Sky to have a letdown in this game, right? They already had their playoff seeding locked in. We knew that they were going to be making the playoffs, but the Chicago Sky gave tons of effort in this game. Now, some could say, and I'm sure some naysayers are going to say, well, the Connecticut Sun, who's to say that they gave all their effort in? But, regardless of that, we had already clinched our final playoff spot. We had nothing like big work that we were fighting for, but we came in, we gave that. Alyssa Thomas as well having her season, but she becomes the first player to score at least 600 points, 400 rebounds, and 300 assists in a single season. We've already talked about a lot of those records are going to be broken and set with the new amount of games that are played in the WNBA. But overall, the Sky came in and they played this game very well. I love the way that the Sky played overall in this game. Another game in which the Chicago Sky played well throughout everyone. They won 2 of the quarters. They won the overtime period as well. But the Chicago Sky just rebounding the ball well in this game as a team. 38 rebounds as a team to this Connecticut Suns 36 rebounds. Not a huge margin there, but we also shoot the ball extremely well as a team. 54% from the field, 52% from three-point range, going 12 of 23 from the three-point range. Also, 85% from free throw. We only missed 2 free throws out of 14. So the Chicago Sky played extremely well in this game. That defense showed its ability is again holding down the Connecticut Sun to 41% shooting overall from the field. They go 7 of 23 from the three-point line as well. And it is what it is. The Chicago Sky, they took care of business. They now, this season ends at 18-22, and they head into the playoffs to face against the Las Vegas Aces, who are probably going to be without Candace Parker, so we don't have a rematch of that going into the playoffs. But, it's going to be a tall test for the Chicago Sky in the playoffs, and I don't think anyone is looking past that or underestimating what the outcome is probably going to be for the Chicago Sky. And so it's going to be a difficult one, right? And I don't think anybody, rightfully so, is going to pick the Chicago Sky to win this game at all. And it would almost be crazy to pick the Sky to win. But the fact of the matter is this: if this team comes up and they show and play respectively, right? We just want to see this team plays a respectful brand of basketball, play with some heart, play with some determination. Yes, you're the huge underdogs in this game, and nobody, the basketball world, is counting you out already before this starts, because you're facing one of the best teams in the history of the WNBA, a team that's just, they've murdered it. They've killed so much this season, and it seems like the only team that really has the Las Vegas Aces number is the New York Liberty. And while they seem that they are on a path to really, to face each other in the WNBA finals, you don't want to just take that for granted, right? The Sky need to come in. They need to play well, play tough on both sides of the ball. We got our star locked in, and we'll see what it's going to bring for the Chicago Sky. It's going to be a tough series. It's going to be a series where, I'm sure the Aces are looking at it and saying, hey, we're facing the Sky, right? We've killed them every game this season. But the Chicago Sky, that brand of defense they play, Elizabeth Williams is going to be so key and important for the Chicago Sky to even look respectable in this matchup. So we'll see what ends up coming in that. It is what it is at that point. All the playoff seeding is now set. The Chicago Sky start their playoff series against of course, against the Aces, but on Wednesday is when we start that playoff series. And so we'll end up seeing what comes of it. The playoff matchups for the WNBA are the Connecticut Sun versus the Minnesota Lynx, the Las Vegas Aces versus the Chicago Sky, the New York Liberty versus the Washington Mystics, and the Dallas Wings versus the Atlanta Dream. So the playoffs start on Wednesday. There's a day between, and then they play again on Friday. The Chicago Sky play Wednesday and Sunday. So, we'll be covering it here. Make sure you guys are tuned in, because this should be fun for Sky fans. But just a quick update that I wanted to give on the final game of the season. We'll wait to the end of the playoffs before we do our evaluations of each player. I'll have videos out on that as we head, into the offseason, and we'll see what comes of that. But that's really it, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the channel at Chicago Sky Pod on every social media platform. You can also send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoSkyCentral@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message, which I did get text messages from you guys. I have not overlooked it. We'll cover it in probably tomorrow's episode or Wednesday's episode previewing the game. We'll get to those. Like, we got a couple of voicemails. We got a couple of text messages. We'll get to that. But if you want to leave more, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Sky related. And I'll see you guys the next time we go to Skytown. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.